Hi lovelies, welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strand and here is Ballistic Gist. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us. You guys are the real MVP. So guys, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok and I found it super educated and I decided to put it up here. Where this Ukrainian woman decided to share the reason why the way at which, pan-colored women are the way they are with, black women, and she decided to give so many analysis. I'm just gonna roll the clip because a lot of people were actually stitching her videos, sharing their own personal experiences about what she have to say. I'm just gonna roll it. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright lovelies, let's dive into it.
The currency of whiteness is compliance, especially American westernized whiteness. The currency is compliance. And the reason that white women are so curious about you as a black woman in the South is because they are confronted with that fact, but they just don't know it. In their mind, when they see you, it triggers like this response of like non-compliance, like somebody's not complying. Like, what is she doing here? She's not supposed to be here. She's not complying with the order, and that threatens us. And I noticed this because I wasn't raised in the US, I was raised in Ukraine. We don't come face to face with racism a lot in Ukraine because there is no opportunity for it. It's pretty much like an all-white country, right? So that's not to say that racism wouldn't exist if given the opportunity. As soon as it is, it happens. As soon as it's given an opportunity. Like in the beginning of the war when people were pushing black people off of trains, like to get on. It'll very much crop up there if it's given the opportunity to. I'm not saying that it's not a problem in Ukraine or other countries like it. People are racist, they just don't know it until they're actually confronted with having to deal with people of color. What I will say is because of that, because we don't have that dynamic of like slavery and segregation and like all of these things, that's why there's this common like sentiment in America about Slavic women that they're just built different, right? They may appear very feminine and like feminized or whatever, but their husband is scared of them. They know that they actually control the entire dynamic kind of thing, right? Because you can only oppress women so much if there is no class below them, right? The only class that's below women in Ukraine are children. And we don't really have like a huge problem with homelessness or anything like that. There is not this multi-step hierarchy, right? There's only this power dynamic between men and women, but it's been balanced out pretty well, right? Like, yes, there are horrible Ukrainian men. I'm not denying that. Yes, some Ukrainian men are abusers and they use like religion and they use all sorts of things to abuse women. But on a large scale, what I grew up seeing was not skittish, abused women. I grew up seeing strong Slavic women because when there's nothing else to threaten women with other than like, oh, you're not going to get married or have a man or whatever, then you don't hold that much power as a man, especially in the courting stage, like in the dating stage. Like, Slavic men are on their best behavior, and there's just as much stigma for divorce for men as there is for women. The dynamics are just a little different. They're a little bit more balanced out, I would say, between men and women. Now, where America differs is that because it's such a melting pot and like all of this, the hierarchy is just turned up to 11. I mean, white women are so obsessed with compliance and they're so obsessed with keeping their place in this hierarchy because there are levels that they don't want to be brought down to, right? One of those levels being you're going to be treated like a black woman. By that I mean you're going to be hypersexualized, you're going to be treated as a second-class citizen, you're going to be made up a bunch of narratives about, and you're going to be considered like unfeminine, unruly, and whatever, etc., etc. There's like so many layers to this, right? So the reason that they're curious or that they're threatened, and I mean curious is a very gentle word to use. Like, I would say that they are threatened. Threatened because they feel like you're taking over. In the video that this comment was left on, this is what I talked about, right? White women in the American patriarchy are especially dangerous to black women because they are okay with the structure of the patriarchy because they gave up a lot to belong to it. And by that I mean they gave up their personalities, right? This is why they have plastic smiles and no joy in their eyes, because it's all about compliance. It's not about having your own personality. It's not about having your own goals, hopes, dreams. It's about compliance. The same thing that I noticed about women in America too. As a Ukrainian woman, like, I was not so used to women just like hiding their joy, their surprise, their anger, especially. Like, white women really hide their anger because that belongs to men. In this racially charged patriarchy, anger belongs to men, but also like black people are very demonized for their anger, especially black women, right? It's angry black woman stereotype. So white women can't be that, right? If they want to keep their place in the hierarchy, which they have already worked really hard to get there and to keep, they don't want you coming along into their country club and being prettier than them, being wealthy on your own, like, because they had to give all that up. They had to give all that up. And that's why they're threatened by you. And the reason that they hover around you is because that's the only compliant way for them to make you feel unwelcome. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Jordan Peele captured this really well in Get Out when he had the black people acting like white people, and it was so uncanny. That's because there is that difference. Especially in the case of Georgina, that's exactly what a white woman would look like in a black woman's body. It would be very uncanny. And the way that Georgina asserted her power was by always hovering around and being in people's business. And that's what white women do. Like, that's the most threatening that a white woman can get, is to just, you know, be there, just hovering and getting in your business. That's why there's the same, like, stereotype about, you know, youth pastors' wives and, like, pastors' wives in general, is that they just have this very disconcerting presence where with a smile on their face, they will look you dead in the eyes and say the most fucked up, misogynistic shit so that they can continue propping up the patriarchy. Right? And it's just creepy. It's creepy how they act, because it's like, why are you saying all this with a smile on your face? Because of compliance. Because the compliance part of the white woman handbook says that you have to be pretty, smiling, quiet, not cause trouble, never get in the way of the men. And the most important thing you can do is to support the patriarchy and to make sure that the men have a clear path forward, because you're next in line. You're next in line. But it's like, the men are never going to move out of your way, babe. They're never going to move out of your way. But white women still, like, they have this very particular relationship, especially white women in America. They have this very particular relationship to white men, to men in general, right? Which is why White Woman Whisperer got all this hate for pointing stuff out, and she got, like, demonetized. Like, her videos were getting reported. The white women were very vicious, but very quietly, you know, very quietly, in that very compliant way. And yet, when a black man went on his platform and used his platform to speak up for White Woman Whisperer and to call white women out, the white women in his comments were very nice. They were very, like, yes, like, well said, you know, they were feeling very called out. They were not reporting his videos. It's this very interesting relationship that white women have with the patriarchy, because they feel like they're so close to the top that it makes sense for them to keep maintaining these kinds of statuses and behaviors. And I noticed this, like, right away about, you know, Western white women, is that they stifle themselves a lot. They control themselves a lot. Again, this was very well exemplified in Get Out, when the main white woman character, like, everything about her is just putting on an act so that what she can actually be is this very controlled, very meticulous, very collected psychopath. You know, like when she's just eating like a single Fruit Loop and drinking one single sip from the straw, like that's all intentional. Like the fact that she has all of these like keepsakes of the previous boyfriends that she has lured over into this whole scheme, because she is not actually what she pretends to be. She pretends to be a real person with real feelings and pretends to like fit into the male gaze, and she fakes sympathy and she fakes empathy and she even can fake anger and all this stuff. But in reality, she's very self-controlled. She's very meticulous. She's very like determined. Like she has a goal. She has an end goal in mind, and she's already planning out her next venture. And I noticed this a lot. Like this was actually really shocking to me, because like in Ukraine, like if a bitch doesn't like you, she doesn't like you. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of pretending. Like everything is kind of out in the open. Like in America, it's like these white women will be so nice to your face. They will pretend like they want the best for you. They will pretend like they have empathy and sympathy, and that they totally understand what you're going through, to turn around and literally stab you in the back and exercise their power over you. When my parents came here to America, they very specifically wanted to attend like an English speaking church so they could learn English faster. And so we went to this very conservative, like little church, and it was just full of like the WASP demographic, and it was very creepy and uncanny trying to interact with these people, like as a normal person. You never know what they're thinking. You never know what's behind their eyes. You never know what's behind their smiles. They'll like nod and agree as though they really hear you and like understand what you're saying. But really, it's not that. They're just complying. They're just controlling themselves from saying what they really feel. And you could tell they didn't know what to do with us, because we were like by all means white, but they still saw us as below them. They still saw us as immigrants, and they would talk to us, you know, really slow. Even though my parents would respond back in normal speed and everything like that, they just couldn't help but treat us like second-class citizens. It was very unsettling, very uncanny. No matter what, in America, you are going to take your spot, you take your place in the hierarchy. Even if you refuse, other people will do it for you. They will place you where you belong. And in my opinion, at the end of the day, this all stems from the fact that whiteness is actually like a lack of things. Whiteness is more about what you're not and less about what you are. This is why white people have no culture, because culture is a thing that can be used to degrade people and to make them feel like they're less than. And that's why white people are like, oh, no, none of that. We don't do any of that. You know, the culture is very prim, proper, polite, and it's more based around what you don't do rather than what it is you do. And the things that you do are very performative and only exist to perpetuate a certain hierarchy. really freaky observing it as a foreigner. Like, even though I know that, again, I'm white, I definitely like benefit from the system. And I'm definitely also not saying that Ukrainians would be better than any other white people if they were confronted with the real life implications of what American people have been presented with. But that's really the problem. I hope I was able to articulate any of this in a way that makes sense, but these are just my thoughts on that. And please stay safe out there, because women like that are just waiting for a chance to like take you down. I love you so much. Godspeed.
It is abundantly clear that someone has never met a white bitch. I mean, if one would look in a mirror, they would see white. So, I mean, projection maybe a little bit. So it seems to me like someone does comply, whereas I do not. White women are not a monolith. Just because one white woman complies doesn't mean we all do. And so the weak white women need to take a seat while the white bitches get the front row. How does it feel to be the weak one?
Go back and watch the whole video. It is a very lengthy video talking about the difference between white American women and women from other countries, mainly Ukraine. She's doing a comparison, but she's also making a point about why white American women can be manipulative and dangerous to black American women. And she said something in the video at this clip that I clipped that speaks to an experience that I've told my husband about several times, and that is whenever I'm out in public as a free black woman with my time to do whatever I want to do with my time, most of the time I am in spaces where I don't see a lot of black women out, just hanging out, doing what they want to do with their time. And in those times when that happens, like she said in this video, they really do look at you like, what are you doing? You are not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here at this time. You're not supposed to be here at this time of day. You're supposed to be clocking in at somebody's job. But the other part of that is, what are you doing out here? You're not supposed to be out here, because if you are out here, you will see what I am doing. And 9 times out of 10, not much is going on. So I just thought that was very interesting, because sometimes people don't want us to see them in their leisure time and to recognize that they have leisure time, and that they're not on someone's clock. And that a lot of it is because of that generational wealth thing, you know, the stolen wealth, the wealth that comes from stolen labor. And so they don't have to be on someone's 9 to 5 because of that generational wealth. But you're not supposed to be seeing that. You're supposed to be at your 9 to 5. You're supposed to be struggling. You're supposed to be chasing the dollar and not paying attention to who's not chasing the dollar, because they don't have to, because they're living off stolen labor. Just a thought. All right, back to my regularly scheduled plans. It's Get Free Friday. Have a good one.
Go watch her entire video, and I mean her entire video. Her entire video is a fucking dissertation, and it's masterful. And I want to speak on something, well, one of the many things that she mentioned. In particular, she mentioned about how, like early on in the video, she said as a non-white person, it doesn't matter how much wealth you have, how much education you have, how much whatever you have in your job, you're still considered beneath them if you're not white, and if you're not a white woman, because there's a social hierarchy in the US, and you have to fit into that box. And I will bring as Exhibit A to confirm this, the case of Serena Williams. We all know who the frick Serena Williams is. The greatest tennis player of all fucking time. Her and her sister Venus, but like, they're the greatest tennis players of all time. no arguments, nothing. Even when you ask Rafael Nadal, he will divert you to the Williams sisters, one of them, either Venus or Serena. But I break this up in particular when it came to the birth of her daughter Olympia and post-birth, because she talked about how she has a clotting condition, and that's why she was wearing that cat suit on the tennis court. It was a compression suit given to her by her fucking doctor, as in, if she didn't wear that compression suit while she was training and while she was playing, that a blood clot could come from anywhere in her body into her lungs, her heart, or her brain, and kill her dead right then and there. Drop her right then and there. And the old white crusty ass misogynistic tennis association bitches, they disqualified her because her suit wasn't the regular near flash, near nudity of the mini tennis skirt and top. They wanted her to keep flashing her ass, because she couldn't, because she had a medical condition and wore a medical grade compression suit. They disqualified her. And here's the other one. When she was actually in the hospital, she kept telling them, check for blood clots, check for blood clots. I have a clotting condition. I have a clotting condition. Check for them, check for them, check for them. And she had to keep screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and advocating and screaming and threatening and advocating and screaming until she finally got a doctor to listen to her. This is fucking Serena Williams. She could have bought that hospital. On the opposite side, she could have said one word at a press conference and had that hospital go completely fucking bankrupt from malpractice lawsuits. But she was benevolent. She just wanted to get fucking checked. It didn't matter that she was fucking Serena Williams to those doctors. To those doctors, she was a black woman who could have been lying about her condition. Like, the silence is for you to let that sink in. She wasn't Serena Williams. She was another black woman who could have been lying about her condition. Never mind you that she goes through strenuous drug testing, as all the other athletes do, for training and prior to participating. They all do. So there was no way that she was going to sneak in a drug use for any purpose. There was no way she was going to be able to sneak it in and get past the checks. Excuse me, no way. None. And yet they still treated her that way. They still saw her as beneath them. Yeah, go back and watch this young lady's entire video. And then when you're done, of course, give me some engagement, please, and thank you. And then go back and watch her video again and again and again until it sinks into you just exactly what black women deal with in this country every fucking day just for existence.
Like, seriously, Lovelace, I totally understand where she's, coming from. And this has to do with the way at which, historically, the way at which black women has been placed. No matter what you do, no matter how qualified or destined that you are, they will still see you the same way. They will still see you as low. And this actually reminds me of an incident that actually got a lot of people talking about this cricket of a thing. Of a man a woman who decided that she was going to come for a black woman, commenting on her looks on a board meeting, and this brought about this bold bushed black body that has been trending on TikTok or every other social media. So when these people see you as a black person, no matter how qualified you are in your said job or your, maybe professional job, they will still see you as a less human being. They will still see you as someone that is unqualified. There is a video I actually stitched on my other channel, which is Build Industry, and where this man who often go to schools for an interview, I think his name is Crick, he often go to these schools to talk about, to interview, students and all of that, about what is happening in the society. He even made a comment talking about how black women or black people, are the least people to have a complete family. So he talks about how he cannot board a flight, or he cannot board a plane that is flown by a black pilot because he does not trust a black pilot. And he sees black people in a professional field as people that is not qualified to be in the said field. And this got me thinking that how is it that someone's qualification has to do with someone's color of skin? That means if you are a pan-colored person, you are automatically qualified to be in a certain field, and if you are a black person, you are unqualified. Then there are some black jobs that is more suitable for someone like that. That was the reason why this lady that stitched a video that I'm stitching or commenting to, when she talks about on her leisure time, she decided to go out where people like her is not meant to be. And on getting there, she saw some pan-colored women, and they were looking at her in some type of way, meaning that she is not supposed to be in that place. She was not supposed to, like, her kind of person was supposed to be under someone, maybe working somewhere, making money, not having a leisure time in a working hour. Like, they, as pan-colored people, have privilege. They can actually choose not to work, but that doesn't mean that the system will still not provide for them. Then seeing her in such place is not making them to feel some type of way. What is it that this kind of person is doing? She is supposed to be somewhere working or doing something with her time. She's not supposed to be here. She is unqualified to be here. Like, that's why sometimes when there's a trend that sometimes pops on TikTok or whatsoever, about maybe black girl magic, black girl trend, black girl going out, or black girl trying to like have fun, going for vacation. They look at it as you are deserving to have all of those things. You are supposed to be somewhere answering someone yes sir or yes ma with your time, and not having all of these leisures that is meant for people like us. They tend to not comfortable with it. And this is what has been going on over and over again. But the thing is that these people do not know that the time is changing. People are waking up. The more at which you think that black jobs are owned or done by people like this, the more you are just lying to yourself, because there are a lot of qualified and professional black people coming up on board. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever, which is here for educational and informative purposes. So please leave your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe if you're here to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.